Back in 2005, I was working in a fancy digital agency in Copenhagen, my native town, and I was at the top of my game, working, as Hadass said, comfortably in my zone. This was what I did, this was what I was able to do, this was what I was really awesome at doing, and I didn't plan to change it. But lo and behold, my whole world was gonna change just around the corner. In the agency, we decided to jump on the whole outsourcing wave, which was the big thing back then, and we decided to open up a development hub in Pakistan, of all places. And in the partnership committee, we were deciding who should go to Pakistan and make this happen. And there's one thing that is important to remember, and that is that in 2005, in Denmark, we had a little incident with a few cartoonists who drew some pictures that they were not supposed to draw. So Pakistan being a Muslim country and us being Danish, it wasn't like the most perfect combination. So what was more of a challenge was who is going to volunteer to go to Pakistan. And there was a lot of family fathers and mothers. There were a lot of people with strong family ties to Denmark, meaning families that didn't want them to leave. So it ended up being me, the lone single white guy. So I changed from this environment. This is actually the epitome of Copenhagen and Denmark. Little casual, little bicycling, little cold, but still organized, to this in Lahore, Pakistan. I actually both stayed in Lahore, Pakistan and Islamabad. And believe me, the transformation was enormous. This time, I was literally outside my comfort zone. It was a completely new experience. And I remember vividly that the first thing that I learned happened on the very first day. I was being picked up at the airport by the manager of the development center that we had just invested in. And we were taken from the airport and into the office. And I remember traveling for 20 minutes, and the streets were different, the traffic was different. There were cows on the roads, there were donkeys on the roads, there were really troublesome pictures on every intersection with beggars standing and begging for money. And part of them was dismembered. Apparently that's how you actually go about getting money in Pakistan. So I was already in the first 20 minutes learning. But the valuable lesson came when I got to the office. And we were stepping out of the car, and a young boy came towards us. And again, I'm from Denmark, I'm from Scandinavia, everybody's equal. So this boy came and wanted to grab my bag and carry it to the office. And I was like, no, I can do my own. This is what we do in Denmark. We carry our own stuff. And so I carried my own stuff to the office, and within 5 minutes, the manager asked me politely to come into his office, and then he reprimanded me. And he said to me, Mr. Andersen, and first of all, in Denmark, I've never been called Mr. Andersen, so that was also a new experience. You need to allow this young boy to carry your suitcase. You need to allow him to make tea for you, because this is why he gets his meager salary that he can take home to his family. So no more of this equality thing. There is a purpose and a meaning for him to be here, and it is not a demeaning thing. And that was a huge eye-opener for me. And that was just the beginning of a whole cultural business learning process. This has even nothing to do with the food and the smells and the way the dogs bark at night. This was about how to do business, how to interact with people at a professional level. So over the next 2 years, I moved between Islamabad and Lahore, did business there, weird business, strange business, exciting business. And again, remember the Muhammad thing. For instance, I was not supposed to say that I was Danish. So, and it's not easy for Danes to say that they're not Danish. And I was encouraged to say that I was Swedish. And that was really, like, it didn't feel well for me. But there was a reason for this. And that was that Pakistan is not only a lot it's a long way away. It is a different culture. And the tension there, it was still brewing back then in 2005, and it's gotten increasingly worse since then. It was palatable. And I lived there. I didn't feel it. I was going to work every day. Actually, I didn't go to work. I was driven to work, again by a chauffeur, so that he had a reason to make a living, and also because I didn't want to drive in the Pakistani traffic. That's like insane. But I was living there. I didn't feel any danger. I didn't feel any discomfort. I was, as Hadass was saying before, I was starting to be accustomed to my new comfort zone. But that didn't mean that my family back home in Denmark was feeling the same comfort. So maybe you know, but in 2000, and I think it's 6 or 7, there was a huge, it was the beginning of a whole terror wave in Pakistan, and there was the bombing of the Marriott Hotel in Islamabad. And my family knew that I was either, if I was in Islamabad, I was staying at the Marriott, and if I was in Lahore, I was staying at the Avari. A little side note here, you can get tired of hotels. If you live in hotels for 2 years, you sort of all of a sudden get to know that they reuse the whole menu every month. It's the same menu that goes on and on and on and on. But the hotel in Marriott Hotel in Islamabad got bombed. It was a huge catastrophe. 250 people dead, the whole hotel almost leveled. And I was sound asleep in Lahore. But my family didn't know that. So they were panicking. They were, that was before FaceTime. They were sending me emails. They were trying to Skype me. But again, Pakistan is also 6 hours away, so I was in a different time zone. And I didn't really realize that that was a thing. But it was a big awakening for me to realize that just because you're in a new country and you get accustomed to it, it might not mean that your family is getting accustomed to it. So I've been trying to keep my family and friends back home in Denmark abreast with what I'm doing. I'm not really good at it yet. And luckily, the danger has not been as much as it was in Pakistan. Because my next trip was to New Delhi. And one of the reasons was, again, a little bit of the danger and the uncertainty in Pakistan, and then also because it was chaos, and I wanted to use my learnings from Pakistan and apply them in my next business adventure, which happened to be a software development project. So I wanted to go to a place where I could maximize my learnings. So I chose to go to India. First of all, India and Pakistan. What's the difference? There's a huge difference. Again, just a little funny story. In Pakistan, Muslims, you can't have bacons with your eggs. And a little bit of a to-do list was the next country I wanted to go to. I'm a Dane. We're proud of our pigs. So we want our bacon. And I knew that in India, you can have bacon. So that came high on my list. So I moved to New Delhi. I'd just forgotten that in New Delhi, they're Hindus, and you can't have beef. Which is maybe not so much about business, but it's about comfort of life. It shows that there is pros and cons on everything that you do when you travel around as much as I've done. So no more beef, but a lot of chicken and a little bit of bacon. But again, that was a chaotic time also, financial crisis and so on. So I ended up having to end that part of my journey around the world, and I decided that I needed a break. And so I looked at the map and I said to myself, I want to go back to Europe, but I don't want to go back to cold Denmark with the bicycles. So I chose to go to Seville, and it's very hot in Seville, but it's really, really nice. But one of the lessons that I learned in Seville was that opposed to India and Pakistan, where English is like the second language, and there were limited language barriers, a little like Hadas was saying here in Bulgaria, language was a huge challenge in Spain. And I must admit that because I was working with software developers and so on, even in Spain, they all speak English, so I got by. But it took me 1 year to learn enough Spanish so that I could actually tell the taxi driver what street number I was living in on Calle San Pedro Matir 18. 18 is 18 in Spanish. 1 year before I could do that. So that was like, okay, I need to learn the languages when I go to my next destination. And after 1.5 years in Spain, I had enough tapas and coffee and being relaxed. So I needed to gear up again. And what's easier to do than go to London? Like, that was almost like moving back to Denmark. This was, for Danes, London is the third biggest city in Denmark. We speak very good English. So I knew that I could easily go to England and adapt myself. I just forgotten one thing. First of all, England is almost as wet as Denmark, but it is also super expensive. And having just lived in India and Pakistan and Spain, where you pay nothing for a cup of coffee, you pay less for a tostado or a sandwich or some chicken nuggets in India, then all of a sudden everything was expensive. So even though that this was a new comfort zone where I could do business, and business in London is electrifying, you can feel it in the streets, then it left me with not enough money. And I had a new project, and I found some investors for this new project, and I knew that I couldn't make that happen in London. I was simply going to burn up the money before I'd even got them into the bank account. So I knew that I needed to go somewhere else again that was a little bit more affordable. So I looked around and actually asked around, and I asked, does anybody know anybody in Hungary, Romania or Bulgaria that would give me some insight into maybe setting up business there. And lo and behold, there was actually a guy in the office who knew the daughter of the Deputy Prime Minister of Bulgaria at the time. And I was like, yeah. If you really know her, please let me talk to her. But it actually turned out that he did. And he introduced me to the Deputy Prime Minister, who then introduced me to my biggest achievement here in my last 10 years of traveling, to Evelina, who's part of the organizers of the TEDx thing here, and made me want to come to Sofia. And I've been here in Sofia for 3 years, and it has been fantastic. All the same problems, so I don't need to talk about them as Hadas. But again, using a lot of my experiences from before. But one of the things that I've forgotten, and this is again back to learning and forgetting is all of a sudden something that everybody does. I forgot to learn the language. So I can't even say that I live on Tarzan 36. I can say Tarzan, and I probably don't even pronounce it right, but I can't tell the taxi driver 36. So again, it's all about trying to be comfortable where you are, and then at the same time realize that you're never going to be perfect. You're always going to have to pay, not a price, but there's going to be things that you're going to miss. So one of the things that we are now looking at in my team is that we need to expand from Sofia, Bulgaria, and into America. It's our new business adventure. And I'm not there yet, so this is not where I'm going to set up business, because I can also go to Miami, or I can go to San Diego, or I can go to San Francisco. But one of the things that we are doing at the moment is we're doing a checklist. We're trying to learn about all the things that I have figured out in the past and trying to apply them in choosing our next destination. But one of the things that I have promised myself, because America checks it off, that's a possibility. Be open to go to America. Yeah, of course, who wouldn't like to do that? Brain over heart, I would love to go to San Diego, but apparently that's on the other side of the world. California is crazy, apparently, according to all Americans, and it's expensive. So Austin, Texas is one of the more likely destinations that we're going to go to, because we have some personal connections in Austin, Texas, which is one of the things that I've learned. Have somebody that you can relate to when you set up your next business. Respect the culture. Yeah, I respect them. Again, notwithstanding the new president over there, but again, he's not all Americans. I know that I can assimilate into the culture, but most importantly, this is where, and that has been one of the guiding things and in all of my journey, is about not where the money is, but what is it that can fuel my business. And it's not only about business, it's so much more about the journey. And what I have learned in the last 10 years, I will wish upon all of you. But there's one thing that I want to end by saying: you need to enjoy the ride, because it is a roller coaster. But one of the things and it's my final story here, one of the things that I'm most embarrassed about was I was in New Delhi and I never went to Taj Mahal. And like everybody is saying to me, you're an idiot, Jan. That was why you were in New Delhi. But it wasn't. I was there to do business. But I have promised myself that before we go to the US, that's my challenge, I will go and see a couple of the sites here in Sofia, because even to this day, and I've been here for 3 years, I haven't even been up Vitusha Mountain. So I don't know, there is apparently some creek up there and a waterfall. So there is so much more to be seen out there. So the only thing that I want to impress on anybody is go out there, be brave, and enjoy the ride. I did, and I wish it on all of you. Thank you.